Patrick on the field, spirit, the best.
He's the only guy that could have played alone in midfield. Alone.
Patrick
Vieira.
Patrick Vieira.
Patrick Vieira was more than just a footballer. He was an atmospheric force. A tall, rangy, and intimidating presence who defined the tough-as-nails era of the Premier League. To some, he was the ultimate captain, the engine of Arsenal's Invincibles. To others, he was a terrifying opponent who turned every midfield battle into a physical and psychological war.
Position similar to that one, but on this occasion he's looked for Bergkamp, who looks for Vieira!
But how did the man who dominated the pitch for a decade command such universal respect, even from those who claim to despise him? To understand the legacy of the Senegalese-born Frenchman, you have to listen to the icons who stood in his way, the teammates who followed him into battle, and the managers who built their dynasties around him. Here is what football's biggest names really say about Patrick Vieira in their own words.
Yeah, so before we got in the tunnel to go out for the game, coming in for the warm-up, he's chasing me up the tunnel, screaming at me. So I goes into the changing room and sits down next to Dennis Irwin and said, you know, Vieira's a bit annoyed. he's just basically chased me up the tunnel. And obviously I sat next to Dennis here and Roy was next to Dennis, so Roy...
And you obviously heard that.
Yeah, but to be honest, I was trying to mind my own business. Honestly, I was just focused on the game, you know, quite calm, getting in the zone, and Gary was a little bit upset and he seemed a bit worried. And but I think I said to Gary, I said, just forget about it. Just obviously we need to focus on the game. And then of course, obviously Patrick wouldn't let it go. You know, typical Arsenal bully. And then he started again in the tunnel just before obviously the game started. And that's where I kind of got a little bit irritated.
You cannot talk about Vieira without mentioning Roy Keane. Their rivalry wasn't just about football, it was personal. Keane, often critical of everyone, has admitted that Vieira was the one player who truly tested his limits. He famously described the Highbury Tunnel incident as a moment where he felt he had to protect his teammates because Vieira was trying to intimidate them. Yet, in later years, Keane has named Patrick in his all-time Premier League 11s, acknowledging that without Vieira, he wouldn't have been the same player.
Patrick, I'd put you in the team. You'd have to, for the way you played, your presence, actually scored a few goals, I think, along the way.
Especially against United.
You're a big character for Arsenal. You can pick the other midfielder. Don't let me down.
He's the only guy that could have played alone in midfield. Alone, you play 4-1-5 if you want. I knew when Patrick was going to chase the ball and he was scanning, I'm already getting off my defender because he's going to get that ball, so I'm already on my back to go because he was going to get that ball. And the quality. Sometimes Patrick was doing it on purpose to lift the ball, flick it over people and just passing by them. And I mean, it was just unplayable at times. And I don't know a lot of people that could have done like that everything in midfield. Unstoppable. What a player.
Thierry Henry saw the elite level of Vieira up close every day at Arsenal and with the French national team. Henry once remarked that Vieira was so dominant he could practically play alone in midfield. He highlighted Patrick's rare ability to transition from a bone-crunching tackle to a graceful 40-yard surging run in a matter of seconds. For Henry, Vieira wasn't just a physical presence, he was the technical heartbeat of the team. But it wasn't just his teammates at Arsenal who felt his impact. When a young, confident Zlatan Ibrahimovic arrived at Juventus, he met a veteran Vieira who refused to let him settle for anything less than perfection. Zlatan credits Patrick for completely transforming his mental approach to the game.
When I met Patrick Vieira first time was in Juventus. I knew who he was. I remember we played against Arsenal when I was in Ajax. And I remember when we were sitting on the bench, the whole Ajax team, Patrick Vieira was the only player from Arsenal to give the hand to every player when he went past them. The other ones passed, hello, nothing. But he gave hand to every player. And already I said to myself, wow, this is something else. This is different. And when he came to Juventus, he had a big influence in my game because he was on me all the time. When you yell at somebody, you put pressure on somebody, normally the pressure doesn't come back because, yeah, different personalities, different characters. But from him, it came twice back. And that I was not used to that. So he was on me all the time. When I thought I did good, he said I did bad. He triggered my mentality by not being satisfied. You have to do much more because it's not enough.
To have the world's most arrogant striker admit that someone broke him down and rebuilt his mentality tells you everything you need to know about Patrick's presence. He didn't just play the game, he demanded greatness from everyone around him.
Patrick Vieira, I mean, I was young when I played Patrick and Roy Keane, and I just, you know, they bossed me. You know, I was a young boy. I remember Patrick kept knocking it over my head, and I couldn't get it the other side all the time. You know, he had those long legs, and I really admired them coming through. But I think over the period of my career playing against Stevie in those big games at Liverpool, when he was on top of his game, you knew when Stevie was on top of his game that he was a force. You know, and we had great battles. I had a lot of respect for him as a player, and even though we had those sort of rivalries, I think as you get older, it's much easier to have a view on it rather than that sort of view when you're playing each other and you're real rivals. And I think Stevie has to give complete respect for as a midfielder.
Even for the legends of the next generation, Vieira was the gold standard. Chelsea icon Frank Lampard has frequently cited Vieira as his most difficult opponent. Lampard recalls matches where he felt he couldn't get near the ball because Patrick kept knocking it over my head and using his massive stride to bypass the entire Chelsea midfield. It was this combination of height, reach, and technical elegance that made him a nightmare for even the best playmakers.
I said 1 month ago that Patrick needs to play because at that age, you know, it's very difficult if you don't play to stay at your best. He is captain of a French national team. I was asked many times the question in France, and I always said the same thing. He needs to change club to play because he didn't play enough to be competitive. For me, he has made the right choice. City has made the right choice, so it should be a good marriage.
Arsène Wenger didn't just coach Vieira, he discovered him. Wenger has often spoken about how Patrick arrived as a shy teenager from Milan and transformed into a warrior with a soft heart. Wenger credits Vieira's arrival as the catalyst for the change in Arsenal's DNA, moving them from boring Arsenal to a team of physical, athletic masters. But even a warrior has to start somewhere. When Patrick first arrived in North London, he didn't speak a word of English. Former Arsenal Vice Chairman David Dine recalls the hilarious moment he realized that Patrick's English lessons had been left in the hands of the team's biggest prankster, Ray Parlour.
In fact, I often use this story, and it's true about Patrick, who is here. And Patrick, of course, as you know, he came from Milan, and he couldn't speak a word of English. And we had to make sure he settled down well. We gave him a teacher. We made sure he had a nice house, a car, a mobile phone. And after a couple of weeks, I went down into the dressing room and I said, Patrick, est-ce que tu peux dire quelque chose en anglais? Can you speak something in English? He said, oui, Monsieur Dean. Yes, Mr. Dean. I said, qu'est-ce que tu peux dire? What can you say? He looked at me and he said, Tottenham Archie. I said to him, Patrick, qui te dit ça? Who told you that? He said, Ray Parlour.
It was that blend of fierce intensity on the pitch and a genuine, down-to-earth personality off it that made the Highbury faithful fall in love with him. He might have been tricked into insulting the rivals, but it didn't take long for him to start bossing them on the grass.
It's a little bit of a what? When he put Patrick Vieira at 7, you've got him at 3. You were an Arsenal fan growing up, that would have been the time you watched him, was it?
Vieira, come on.
Oh.
I put Keane just ahead of him because of the rivalry. But
because you sit next to him.
What was the... what made him better than Toure?
Better going backwards?
Yeah, I just think he controlled the game more no matter what situation it was. Do you know what I mean? So if he needed to be defensive, he'd be defensive. He needed to be attacking. Look at all the goals he scored. Do you remember? Can't remember. Is that little death chip that he did when he run all the way from his own half. Good technically. He was a big unit. Good in the air. Yeah. He had absolutely everything. So
you know, when you stood in the tunnel against when he was at the at the front, when Vieira, he was like he had a presence about him, didn't he? He was like. He wasn't arrogant in any way, but he had this aura about him that if you want to mix it, I'll have a fight with you today. Yeah. Anyone.
Yeah, you could see that. I mean, it's not that I think a few probably cowered away from Roy Keane over the years, but he didn't, did he?
No.
That rivalry between...
Who do you think's a better player out of Keane and Vieira? If you had to pick one.
Why are you putting me on that? What have I done to deserve that question?
You've seen him more than anyone.
I don't work with Roy Keane, so I'll probably go Roy Keane. So little to choose between them, isn't there? I don't know. They're very similar, aren't they, in a way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's tough, that's why I put
And they
them.
could also both lose their heads occasionally.
Yeah.
Occasionally, even Vieira. I'd probably go Vieira.
Whether it was his legendary battles with Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United or his silent leadership in the dressing room, Vieira remains the blueprint for the modern box-to-box midfielder. Critics often pointed to his disciplinary record, but his supporters saw a player who simply refused to lose. Patrick Vieira's career will always be remembered for that unique blend of silk and steel. From the trophies at Arsenal and Inter Milan to the World Cup glory with France, he left an indelible mark on the game. But what do you think? Was Vieira the greatest midfielder in Premier League history, or does Roy Keane still hold that crown? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into football's legends.